Welcome back, everyone. In today's episode, we are going to be creating a simple interaction system so that we can walk up to an item, press our interact button, whatever that might be, and then we will be able to interact with an item. In this case, I'm just making that item disappear. But this is going to be the base for our entire interaction system, which will allow us to do a bunch of things like open doors, turn on light switches, just interact with items, things like that. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do back in our project is let's go to our content folder. And let's actually create a new folder, and let's call this blueprints. And then inside of that, we're going to create another folder, and we're going to call this interfaces. So this will be the first interface that we're going to create. If you've never created an interface before, it's pretty simple. This is what we're going to use to communicate between our blueprints. So we need a way to communicate between our character's blueprint and the items that we're going to interact with. Now, there's a few different ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you just kind of the most basic way to start out with. So we're going to right-click here, go to Blueprints, and click on Blueprint Interface. And we're going to call this BPI Interaction. And let's open that up. And inside of here, we are going to, we don't really have to create a new function because they already have one in here. So I'm just going to rename this Interaction. And that is all we have to do. Very simple. Now we are going to add on to this, but for right now, this is literally all we need. So we can close that. And now let's go to our, let's go back to our content folder, characters, and let's open up our first person character. And we are going to start building out the things that we need to make this interaction work. So the main thing that we're going to need here is we're going to need a line trace. Now, there's a few different ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you the way that I like to do it, and that is just to create a new function here, and we're going to call this line trace. And if you've never used the line trace, or if you don't know what a line trace is, I'll just give you kind of a very basic overview. A line trace allows us to very simply draw a line from a point to another point, and it then allows us to just figure out what we want to do with that. So these are very common in games. This happens all the time, and we're going to go ahead and create one. So out of here, we are going to drag out and just type line trace by channel. Okay. Now, the way this line trace works, it needs a start and an end point. Now, most people, what they do, and what we're going to do here, is we're going to use our first person camera, or our camera here. So I'm going to drag that out. And this is going to help us get the locations of these. So we can't just plug this directly into here because we need to actually tell it specifically what point we're starting from, because this is just a camera and we need to actually get a location from here. So what we can do is we can drag out and type get world location. And that will be our start. And now to get our end, this is a little bit more complex. What we want to do is we need a direction for this. So what we can do is we can do get forward vector. And that will tell us, okay, we've got our camera here, and we want to know which way we're facing, and then that's going to be the direction that this is going to send out. Now, what we also want to do, we need a we need to know how long this line is going to be, because if we didn't have a distance, we would just shoot out a line from our camera and it would just go infinitely. So we need to define how long the line is going to be. So I'm actually going to click on line trace here, and we're going to add an input. And that input is just going to be called length. And it is going to be a float. Now, out of our forward vector, we need to multiply. We need to multiply this with our length. So very simply, we can just drag into here and it will automatically convert this. Another way that you can do this is you can right-click on this or right-click right here, and then you can change this to a float. But I'm just going to drag this in here. That's just going to automatically convert that to a float. So we're multiplying a vector times a float here. And now we need to, so again, this is getting the direction essentially, but we also need to know the location as well. So what we can do is we can actually add this together. So if I type add, then I can add this with this, and that will be our endpoint. All right, so let me just clean this up a little bit, straighten things out, and that should be good. Okay. So, actually, you know what? Let's also do something else. This is totally optional, but this will just make things a little bit cleaner. I'm going to click on the draw debug type here. I'm going to drag out of that. And if I just drop this onto line trace there, it's going to automatically create that input for us. And you'll see why we want to do that later. Instead of me trying to explain that, I'll just show you in a bit. So the next thing that we want to do here is we want to drag out of out hits, and we're going to click on break our hit results there. And then if we click this drop down box, we're going to get all these different things here. And the main thing, actually, before we do this, let's right click, or sorry, just go back here and let's add an output. And this is, let's call this hit actor. And the type will be actor. You just type in actor, and then it's going to be this very first one, just the regular actor, and then it's going to be an object reference. So that gives us a return node here. And we can just plug this up like that. And then very simply, we're just going to drag out of hit actor here and plug that into that. Just collapse that to clean it up. And that is pretty much all we need to do for our line trace. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And now back here, we need to, first of all, let's create a new input action, because we need an input action for whatever our interact key is going to be. So let's just copy run, Control D, IA, interact. And then let's go back here, and we're going to add a mapping. It's going to be IA interact. And then whatever you want your interaction key to be here. So for me, I'm going to make mine the letter E. So I'm just going to choose E, but you could choose F or whatever you want. Save that and close. And now let's do IA interact. Okay. So now we have our interaction here. So what we want to do, this is when we press our interact button, we want to run that line trace. So out of started here, we can just type line trace, get our function that we created, and we need a length for it here. So I'm going to do 250. You can kind of experiment and see what works for you. 250, anywhere from like 250 to 350 is usually pretty good. If you notice that in the game you are, farther away and you want to be able to interact, you might want to increase that or decrease it, whatever you want. That's totally up to you. And then this is why I added that input there for the draw debug type. This way we can just very simply choose, this is just for debugging. So like if we choose for duration here, let's just test this out and see what this looks like. So if we compile and save, go back here and hit play. Now when I hit E, you can see exactly what that line trace looks like. So I press E, it starts the line from our camera, and it ends at 250 units away. If we hit something that has collision, you can see it kind of gives like a little red dot there at the end, so you can see exactly where it hits. So that's very useful for just debugging and making sure that things work, especially if you hit something and it doesn't have collision. A lot of times that will be the case that it might not be working. So it's always good just to be able to quickly be able to debug that and check that it actually is hitting what you want to hit there. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to check if this line is hitting something that specifically has that interface that we created, because what we're going to do is we're going to add that interface to our item, and then that will allow us to know if we actually hit that. So let's drag out of our hit actor, and we want to type something called does object implement interface. And this is a built-in function that will allow us to then choose an interface. So we want to choose BPI interaction. And let's get a branch just by holding B and clicking. Go ahead and hook this up. And we could just plug this directly into here, but just for safety's sake, let's do one other thing. Let's type is valid, and let's click on this one, the one with the function there, and let's just check to make sure that the object is valid as well. This is just a little safety, just to make sure that it is valid. So let's type out of here. This is a common thing that you might want to know as well. If you want to check two things on your branch here, instead of having to like do this and then also doing another branch here, what you can do is just type and boolean, and that will allow us to check two things here. So now if this and this are true, then we will do something here. Okay, so what we want to do here is if this is true, we can drag out of here and we can type interaction. And then you'll see this interaction with a message. That's what we're looking for. Now, interaction, I'm typing interaction because if we go back and look at our interface, that's what I named this function. So if you named your function something different, that's what you would type. But whatever you typed for that, that's what you'll be looking for. And you want to make sure that it has that little envelope on it there. Now we need a target for this. The target is going to be the hit actor. So we can just drag that into there like that. Compile and save. And that is pretty much all we need to do. So now what's going to happen when we hit our interact button here? It's going to fire the line trace, and it's going to check, is this object valid? And it's also going to check if this object implements this interface. And if it does, then it's going to call this. Now, this might be a little confusing. if you have never used an interface or you are a little confused what's going on, this will make a little bit more sense in the next part here. So for the next thing, let's go back to blueprints. Let's create a new folder, and let's actually create our item. So let's call this interaction actors. So these will be things that we can actually interact with. And let's do a new blueprint, and we'll just call it BP item, and let's open that up. Okay, so this is going to be our actual item. So let's add a static mesh. Okay, I've got something that I made for you guys that is completely free. You can check the link in the description to download this. This actually comes from an asset pack that I created here, and I'll leave a link for this as well if you want to check this out. This is just an asset pack that I sell, but I've got a bottle from here that I'm going to just give you guys to use. Completely free, but if you want to check out the full asset pack, you can check it out here. And if you want to support me and get some assets for your game, you can check this out. But if you want to just use this this item, you can download it, and when you download it, you'll get these files right here. So we're going to import these into our project here. So what you can do if you've never imported anything, it's very simple. We can just go to our contents, and let's create a new folder. Let's call this meshes. We're going to create a few different folders, actually. We're going to create one for meshes, one for materials, and one for textures. All right, so first of all, our mesh, let's go back to here. And these FBX files, these are our meshes, so we're just going to drag these in like this. You can leave everything default here, just import those. And you can see that it actually created a material for us. That's fine. Let's actually just move this to materials, just to keep things clean, and close that, and then let's go to textures, and then back here, and let's highlight these textures and drag them in here. Okay, now I'm going to close that. And let's go to our material that it created for us. If it didn't create a material for you, you can very simply just right-click and click on material there and just name that for whatever you want. But it just created one for us, so let's open that up, and we're going to get this. I'm just going to delete this because we don't need that. And I'm going to grab our textures here and just drag those in. And we've got 3 textures here. So I'm just going to kind of organize them like this. Our first one is going to be our color. So out of RGB, I'm just going to drag that into base color. Our next one is our normal. So RGB, we're going to drag that into normal. And then our third one, this one is set up to where if we open this up, this one has different things kind of built in to the different RGB colors here. So the way this works, you might see this on other materials. This just saves a little bit of room by combining these together. Whereas some materials might have a different texture for the metallic, a different texture for the roughness, and so on. This just allows us to combine those into one thing. So what we can do here is out of B, that is our metallic, and then G is our roughness, and then the R is our ambient occlusion. Oh, and one other thing that we need to do, we need to open this texture, and we need to change where it says sRGB here, we need to uncheck that. And then when you do that, you're going to get an error here. That's because this needs to be set to linear color. And let's apply that. Save. So now if we go back to our mesh and look at our mesh here, and we have the correct materials. Now, one other thing you want to do here, you can see how that looks invisible there. So back in our material, if you look right here, it says two-sided. We want to check two-sided. Okay, so check that, apply, and save. And now that will have an interior there. Okay. So now let's go back to our item and our static mesh. We can set that to the bottle. Compile and save. And let's do this. I'm going to click on this wall here, and I'm going to hold Alt and then just drag out. That will just make a copy. And I'm just going to use this as like a little shelf. So I'm going to go over here and hit reset here so that we just have a little shelf here just to set this on. So let's go back to our blueprints folder and grab our actual item, drag it out here. And now we have a little something to set there. Okay. Now, I can't just interact with this right now because we don't have any way of knowing if this is actually hitting that. I mean, you can see that our line trace is hitting it, but if you remember in our first-person character, we're checking if the object that we hit actually has this interface, and this item does not have this interface, so we need to add it. So if we go up here to class settings, and then if you look over here under implemented interfaces, we can type our interface that we created, BPI interaction. Now, you'll notice if we go to our graph here, we can delete all of this. Over here, under interfaces, we have this interaction. And if I double click this, it actually gives us an event. So now, what this interface allows us to do, when we hit our interact key and it fires the line trace, it's going to send out a message to fire this event. And any blueprint that has this interface and then has this event here is going to fire. And now we can do anything out of this that we want. So for right now, let's just do a print string. And let's just type interacted, just to let us know that that is actually working. So now if we go back here and we play from here, if I hit off to the side, nothing happens. But if we actually move our cursor over the item and hit E, then you can see up in the top left corner that it says interacted. So that is really the basis of the way the interaction works. Now there's all kinds of things that we can do from this. Once we create an inventory system, we could add this to our inventory. We'll create an inspection system that we can start inspecting. But for right now, let's just do something really simple like destroy this actor. So when we interact with it, we'll just make it disappear. So we can do that just by dragging off of here and just type destroy actor. And maybe we also do like a small delay type delay, and we'll just do like 0.5 seconds. Compile and save. So now when we interact with that, it should disappear in a half a second. So I'm going to press E, and there we go. So that is pretty much it. That is kind of the start of our interaction system. We're going to build off of this. There's going to be a lot that we're going to do with this, but this is just kind of the base start for this, and is going to give us a lot of things that we're going to be able to do. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions, as always, please let me know. If you did find this helpful, please leave me a like and subscribe, and I will continue making these videos. All right, thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time.